Most people spend years building towards something only to arrive and wonder why it doesn't feel like enough. Not because they did not work hard enough, but because what they were building toward was never actually their assignment. And today we're going to find out if that is you. By the end of this episode, you're going to have a clear way to tell the difference between a pool that is genuinely yours and one that was adopted from somewhere else. And you're going to know exactly what to do with that answer regardless of which one it turns out to be. So let's get into it today. I'm Caren, and this is The Rewrite, a podcast about finding the courage to pursue the life you already know you're meant to live. Whether this is your first time here or you have been on this journey with me for a while, welcome. Every episode stands completely on its own, so you can start right here. Today we're getting into something that changes everything about whether what you have already built or are currently building toward is actually aligned with what you're meant to do. Because you can be clear about what you're building. You can have a strong foundation underneath it. You can hold it through every hard season that tries to take it from you and still be building toward the wrong thing. Not because you lack commitment or clarity, but because what you have been moving toward was never actually your assignment to begin with. There is a specific feeling that comes with a purpose that is genuinely yours. It feels like a pull, a desire to do the thing that exists independent of who is watching or celebrating or confirming it. You don't need external validation to feel it. It's simply there, steady, persistent, present even in the seasons when you're not actively pursuing it. And the progress of a genuine calling is measured internally by how aligned you feel, by the peace that comes with moving toward it, by the sense that even on the hard days, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. An adopted purpose feels different. It has a different kind of pull, one that is more connected to the reaction of the people you borrowed it from than to any internal signal of your own. You measure progress by external confirmation, by whether the people around you are impressed, by whether it matches the image you were inspired by whether it looks the way success is supposed to look from the outside. And underneath all of that external measuring, there is an absence of full peace. Not always obvious, sometimes buried under achievement and momentum and the busyness of building, but it is there. A quiet, persistent sense that something is slightly off, that what you're building fits on the outside but does not quite feel like yours on the inside. That distinction is everything. And if you have been feeling that quiet sense of something being slightly off, this episode is for you. I want to paint a picture that I think a lot of people will recognize in some version of their own life. Think about someone who at 10 years old saw someone they admired and decided that was the life they wanted. Maybe they felt a deep internal pull toward it, or maybe it was simply the image of it that inspired them. So they built toward that image, and that image grew with them. It shaped how they answered the question of what they wanted to be. It influenced the path they chose. By the time they were old enough to make a real decision, it had already made itself at home as the direction they were heading. They succeeded by every external measure available to them. The achievements were real, the recognition was real, and the people around them were proud. But underneath all of that, something else was always pulling. A creative desire, a passion to express something, an assignment that had nothing to do with the career they had been building, but that never fully went quiet, no matter how busy or successful they became. They left the path, tried to answer the other pull, fear got in the way, life redirected them, and they found themselves years later still building professionally, still succeeding by external measures, and still feeling that same pull until one day they stopped building toward the image they had borrowed and started moving toward what they were actually built for. Not abandoning everything they had built, using it, because everything learned in the seasons of building toward the wrong thing became the foundation for building toward the right one. That is not a wasted chapter. That is preparation dressed as detour. And I want you to hear something important in that story. The years spent building toward an adopted purpose are not years thrown away. They are years that equipped you, that taught you things you could not have learned any other way. It built gifts and muscles you're going to need for what comes next. The detour was never a mistake, it was part of the path. Before we get into the action steps, I want to identify the most common sources of adopted purposes so you can recognize where yours might have come from. There is people you admired, a parent, a cousin, a friend, a mentor, someone whose life looked like what you wanted yours to become. And somewhere along the way, you started building toward their version of success rather than discovering your own assignment. Maybe it was the culture around you, what success is supposed to look like in your family, in your community, in your generation. The image of achievement that was held up as a standard before you were old enough to question whether it was a standard you actually wanted to live by. And there's comparison. What you saw someone else doing that looked meaningful or fulfilling and decided you wanted the same thing. Not because you felt called to do it, but because you were inspired by the image of someone else living it. It might be fear. Sometimes an adopted purpose is not borrowed from admiration, but from avoidance. You build towards something safe and achievable because what you were actually built for feels too exposed, too uncertain, or too far outside what feels available to you. Any of those sources can produce a purpose that looks convincing from the outside and feels hollow from the inside. And recognizing where yours came from is the beginning of getting honest about whether it is actually yours. I want to be direct about what it costs someone to spend years building towards something that was never actually their assignment. It is not just the time, it is not just the energy or the resources redirected toward the wrong destination. It is the unfulfillment, the specific kind that sits underneath even the most impressive achievements. The feeling of having accomplished something significant and still wondering why it does not feel like enough. Of having arrived somewhere that looks exactly like success and still sensing that something essential is missing. That unfulfillment is not ingratitude. It is not a character flaw either. It is the accurate signal of someone whose external achievements have outpaced their internal alignment. And the longer that gap goes unexamined, the heavier it becomes. Because the question never goes away. It just gets buried under more achievement, more busyness, more building toward the thing that was never actually quite yours. Until one day it surfaces again, louder than before, and you have to decide what to do with it. Before we get into the action steps, I want to take a moment. If what I bring to this show is the kind of conversation you have been looking for, subscribe and share. It helps put this in front of others who may also need it exactly when they need it most. Now, I want to speak directly to the person who just realized, maybe for the first time, that what they have been building toward might not actually be their assignment. First, do not panic, and don't shame yourself for having built toward it. Everything you built in that season matters. The discipline you developed, the skills you gained, the resilience you built by showing up for something even when it was hard. The gifts that were sharpened in the process, none of that is wasted. Take pride in what you built, even if it was not the right destination. It was real and it was yours in the building of it. And now use it. Use everything you learned and gained and built in that season and redirect it toward what you have always felt most pulled to do. Because everything that felt like a detour was actually preparation. And the skills and wisdom that you've experienced and you've carried from building toward the wrong thing are exactly what you're going to need to build toward what you're actually built for. The honest next step is not to tear down what you have built. It is to examine what you have been building toward and take one step in the direction of what has always been pulling you. Even a small step, even an uncertain one, even one that nobody around you understands yet. Because the pull you have always been feeling is not random. It is the most honest information available to you about who you are and what you're actually here to do. And it is worth following. Before the next episode, here's a recap of your action steps. Number 1, ask yourself honestly, when I think about what I'm building toward right now, does it feel like a pull from the inside or a pressure from the outside? Write your answer in one sentence. Number 2, identify where your current purpose or drive came from. Was it genuinely yours from the beginning, Or can you trace it back to someone you admired, a cultural expectation, a comparison, or a fear of something else? Write that down honestly. Number 3, if what you have been building toward is not fully yours, identify one thing you built or learned in the process that is genuinely valuable and transferable to what is actually pulling you. Write that down because nothing you built was wasted. Number 4, take one step today toward what has always been pulling you. Not a plan, not a full pivot, one step in the direction of what is actually yours. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I genuinely want to hear about your journey and what you feel pulled to do. And if you're already living your life on purpose, please share that in the comments as well. Your stories can be an inspiration to others, and collectively, we can all make a difference. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. New episodes drop every week. Stay the course, my friends. This is The Rewrite, because your story isn't finished yet.